Are you in the Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us this evening for all of your celebrations with your children. Before we begin that, we are going to have a brief public hearing on the bonds and budget overrides and capital improvements updates from Mr. Charlie Martin. Please join us.
Recognizing students is exciting, but who doesn't love bonds and overrides? Good evening, Superintendent Sprout, President Berrigan, and members of the Governing Board. I'm pleased tonight to provide an update on the district's bonds, overrides, and capital plans. This is a public hearing, so I'm happy to answer any questions at the end, and of course, welcome any public comment. I'll start with a quick refresher on bonds and overrides. So bonds and overrides are two ways that local voters are able to provide additional support to their school districts. On the bond side, bonds provide upfront funding for capital projects, things like school construction, expansion, renovations, and also equipment, technology, and buses. Overrides, on the other hand, those are ongoing funding for maintenance and operations and capital, and both bonds and overrides are very important to the district's operations and capital plans. I'll start with a quick review of the district's bonds. Looking back to November of 2015, voters approved a bond authority of $42 million for the district. Since then, we've had two bond sales in December 2015 and August 2019 from that authority, using $22.5 million of the bonds approved by voters. And tonight, there's a bond sale on the Governing Board agenda for approval for the final $19.5 million that was approved by voters back in 2015. This slide's a quick look at how the $22.5 million of bonds that have been sold so far from that authorization in 2015 have been used. We used the last of the $22.5 million at the end of the 22-23 school year. And you'll see on this slide, the vast majority has been used for construction, acquisition, additions, and improvements to new and existing schools. This is all based on voter authorization. And of that $42 million, $39.75 million was intended for that use, construction at schools, $1.75 million for pupil transportation vehicles, and $500,000 for safety and security and general improvements at school sites. This next slide gives you a quick look at the specific projects that have been supported by the 2015 bond authorization. Right off the bat was Paseo Point School construction. Bonds were also used for the classroom additions at Cheatham in 2020, supported a portion of EFGA construction, and most recently the Desert Meadows preschool. This past year, there was $1.5 million of bond funds remaining from the prior two sales, and those went toward 3 school buses, the final cost for the Desert Meadows preschool, and installing Promethean boards and security cameras at school sites. Future bonds, just like the past bonds that have been sold, will be used mostly for land acquisition and school construction. The 19.5 that's on the agenda tonight, I would imagine, will be almost entirely for that purpose. I'll shift now to reviewing the district's overrides. Overrides are a little bit different than bonds in that overrides are providing ongoing funding to the district. State law provides a base level of funding for every school district, and then voters are empowered to provide additional support above and beyond what's known as the revenue control limit in state law to support their local district. For maintenance and operations, voters can provide up to 15% of the revenue control limit, and for district additional assistance or capital, up to 10%. Right now, the district has in place both the maximum maintenance and operation and capital overrides. That 15% M&O override was last extended by voters in November of 2020, and that'll be in place at 15% until the 25-26 school year. After that, it would phase down to 10% and 5% in the subsequent years unless it was extended by voters before that time. The 10% district additional assistance or capital override was last extended by voters in November of 2018. That'll be in place at 10% until the 25-26 school year, at which point it would no longer be in place unless first extended by district voters. In terms of how the district overrides have been used, the two overrides provided $11.7 million in total funding last school year to the district. $7 million of that was for maintenance and operations override, and $4.7 million was for the capital override. To put into perspective how much funding that is, that equals about 20% of the district's total maintenance and operation and capital capital spending last year. So it's a significant portion of the district's total resources. This year, that'll provide a bit more funding, and it's up to $12.7 million, 5.1 of that on the capital side and 7.6 on the maintenance and operation side. That maintenance and operation override supports free full-day kindergarten, arts, music, physical education, and other special area electives for the districts, and then also competitive salaries and benefits to enable the district to attract and retain high-quality employees. On the capital side, the override supports improvement of school buildings, technology, textbooks, furniture and equipment. You'll see on the slide here the amount that was spent in each of those categories last school year. And if you're doing quick math in your head, you'll see that spending was a little bit lower this past year than it has been in previous years. The main reason for that is that we ordered 5 school buses last August. They couldn't be delivered by June 30th, and so that funding will roll over to this year. Those buses will be here in a few weeks, and that's where that $1 million will be spent for those 5 school buses. I mentioned that overrides provide additional local funding on top of the funding that's provided by the state to school districts. I want to give you a little bit of an idea on how state funding compares to what we receive from the override. So the capital override provided $4.7 million last school year. The district additional assistance formula funding that the district received was $3.5 million, and it was very notable that it was $3.5 million last year because this is only the second year that that formula has been fully funded by the state. It was largely suspended for most of the previous decade, and as recently as 2017, 2018, the district only received $362,000 from this formula. So there has been kind of that gap over the previous decade in the state funding formula for capital. The district also benefits from building renewal grants from the state. This is funding for specific projects that are approved by the School Facilities Oversight Board. Those reimbursements totaled about $885,000 last year. And our support services team has done a great job about working with the School Facilities Oversight Board, identifying when we have something like an air conditioning unit fail or a water heater fail, and make sure that we go through the process to get that reimbursement funding from the state and maximize those dollars. Last year, we didn't receive any new school construction funding from the state, and we won't receive new school construction funding this year, but we are expected to benefit from this for elementary school number 10, beginning in the 24-25 school year. So we've been working with the School Facilities Oversight Board. It's not certain that we'll receive that funding yet, but we believe that we're on track to get that for next school year. In general, ongoing state funding from the district additional assistance formula is directed to some of our ongoing capital needs like technology, furniture and equipment, textbooks, and instructional aids. I'll wrap up with a quick look at the district's future capital plans. And I don't think the information on this first slide will surprise anyone. Laveen is growing. We expect to have 7,000 new homes in the district over the next 10 years, 23,000 new residents, and most importantly for the district and our capital plans, 2,300 new students. And so our capital plans center around managing that growth, making sure that we have the necessary support infrastructure and high-quality schools district-wide. In terms of what that might look like, to serve 2,300 new students, we know that we'll need 2 new schools for those students to attend. That'll require acquiring land and building 2 new schools over the next 10 years. As we go through that process, we'll also need funds to expand and renovate existing schools to make sure there's not inequities between schools in the district and that things are maintained to a high level. We also know that we'll have some needs for support infrastructure and that at the Laveen Education Center, there'll need to be some more capacity here to accommodate the growth. So more students attending schools means more students being transported to schools, more students being served lunches, and more space to maintain for district staff. Of course, we also need to continue having adequate transportation fleet, technology, and equipment. It's very difficult to plan 10 years out on what capital needs might be, but we believe that these needs would run somewhere in the range of $100 million to $120 million for the district. The vast majority of that would be the cost of building 2 new schools and acquiring land, which we think would be around $79 or $80 million. We would expect improvements needed to infrastructure and things at the LEC campus to be around $9.5 million. And then funding to update and expand existing schools, somewhere in the $15 to $30 million range. And that is a number that will get fine-tuned over the next couple months, and we'll share with the governing board updates on what plans for existing schools might look like and what will be possible with capital funding. Naturally, when you see a slide that shows $100 million of projects, the question is, how do you pay for $100 million of projects? And fortunately, we believe that a lot of this funding will come from the state in the form of new school construction funding from the School Facilities Oversight Board. The district's also been diligent about accumulating some capital reserves that can go to our needs over the next 10 years. There's the $19.5 million of bonds that are approved, or on the governing board agenda for approval to be sold tonight. And we think there'll likely be some amount of future bonds in the next 10 years, but it's hard to know a dollar amount without knowing where things land with state funding and the scope of some projects. So the better we do acquiring new school construction funding from the state, the less need we would have on local bonds to take care of those costs. Of course, we also have our override and district additional assistance for those ongoing year-to-year needs, equipment, vehicles, technology, instructional aids, things like that. That concludes my presentation on overrides, bonds, and capital plans, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Martin. That was, I think, very helpful for the board as well as our community, who graciously approved those overrides and bonds, which we very much appreciate. Our community over recent history has really understood the importance of bonds and overrides and what that means to the school district, but also to our community for increased property values and making sure that our students have excellent facilities to attend. So to any of you here tonight who voted yes on any of those, I personally say thank you. And to that, any questions from the board or comments? And it is a public hearing. We can take questions from the public if anybody has a question for Mr. Martin. If you don't want to ask him in front of everyone, you can pull him aside at the break and he's happy to answer any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll begin the regular portion of our meeting, starting with the roll call, please. Here.
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 If you can all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have our agenda for the evening. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Been motioned and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have the approval of the minutes from the August 17th regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Dr. Sprout, the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you,
Oh, he's in a
President
bow tie
Berrigan.
tonight. I've never seen you in a
Yes.
bow tie.
So this is the second day in my long, long career that I've ever worn a bow tie, and I was inspired by Malachi over here, and so we'll be seeing Malachi in just a moment with our, and of course, this is the color of our great school, Rogers Ranch STEM Academy, which we're going to hear from later today. So, and it was my son's prom tie, I think. So anyway, yeah. All right, so here we go. Is that the first slide, Butch? It is, okay. Let's start with Math Olympiad. We had some outstanding 5th through 8th grade students participate in the Math Olympiad competition during their gifted time at Paseo Point, MC Cash, and Estrella Foothills last May. Several students were awarded with gold or silver pins for scoring in the top 2% and top 10% in the country. And the rest of our participating students received patches for scoring in the top 11 to 50%. One student, Benton Abeg of Paseo Point, received a medallion for earning a perfect score. And I believe Benton is here. If you would please come forward, Benton. We can maybe have one other person come up here and get a picture with us. That would be his proud mom. So, and congratulations, Miss Abeg, as well. So, let's see what's next. There we go, okay. Each spring, all students in grades 3 through 8 participate in the statewide academic achievement test. The test, which is called Arizona Academic Standards Assessment, measures a student's mastery of the standards in 2 subjects, math and English language arts, which is also ELA is comprised of reading and writing. We had 70 students from the district achieve perfect scores in either one of the tested areas. But I also want to say we had thousands of students who worked very hard throughout the year last year and performed at their absolute best on this assessment, and we congratulate them as well. Tonight, though, we are recognizing 13 students that have achieved perfect scores in consecutive years. This is an amazing accomplishment and worth celebrating. And I don't know who all is here, but I'm going to call them. We have 13 students. So first, for achieving perfect scores on the ELA and math portions of the 2023 AASA test, Lana Alvarado. Next, for achieving perfect scores on the ELA and math portions of the 2023 AASA test, Jameson Cazares. Is that Jameson? Come on up, Jameson. All right. Congratulations. And we'll have you stay up here, Jameson. Next, for achieving a perfect score on the ELA portion of the AASA test for 2 consecutive years, Viviana Alvarado. For achieving a perfect score on the math portion of the AAS for 2 consecutive years, Arifin Imtiaz. For achieving a perfect score on the math portion of the AASA test for 2 consecutive years, Kristen Smith. For achieving a perfect score on the math portion for 2 consecutive years, Diana Esparza Ariano. For achieving a perfect score on the math portion of the test for 2 consecutive years, Bin Min Lee. Again, 2 consecutive years of perfect scores, Ariana Raimundo. Perfect scores for 2 consecutive years in math, Damian Rivera. Two years of perfect scores on the math portion of the assessment, Joseph Ramirez Espinosa. Another student who received 2 years of perfect scores on the math portion, Brock Schultz. 2 years of perfect scores in math, Owen Towle. And finally, one more student who has achieved perfect scores for 2 years on the math portion of the AASA test, Scott Gardner. All right, we're going to get a group picture. Congratulations, students. Parents, if you would like to come around here and get your own pictures, you're welcome to do so, and we will stand up here and give you that time, but we'll get our pictures now.
Nice job.
Lana Alvarado, everyone. Each year, a teacher from every Levine school is selected to receive the district's Excellence in Education Award. This prestigious award is given to those who attain high academic achievement for their students, provide exceptional service and leadership at their school, and make a positive difference outside of the classroom and community. This is our highest teaching award that we give to our amazing instructional staff. And I'm very proud to be recognizing these folks. Some of them I met when they were in college, and now here they are getting this award tonight. Each one of them has had a great journey in our district, and we are so proud and thankful for them. So congratulations to the following teachers who are recognized for their as Excellence in Education teachers for the 22-23 school year. From Vista del Sur Accelerated Academy, Janet Cortez. From Desert Meadow School, Maria Bugarin. From MC Cash Elementary School, Rayanne Morgan. From Levine Elementary School, Jonathan Klaus. From Rogers Ranch School, Gabriel Zermeno. From Paseo Point School, Sherry Givens. From Estrella Foothills Global Academy, Justin Bessanin. From Trailside Point School, Garrett Hessen. And from Cheatham Elementary School, Frank Pinto. Once again, family, if you'd like to get a picture here. Tonight we have a game called Butch Find the Slide. Thank you, Butch, for running all over the place for us tonight. Butch is back there. Wave your hand, Butch, just so everyone knows who you are. Yeah, he's, okay. No. We had 7,704 students who took a combined total of 42,927 tests since school started this fall. This is for the NWEA MAP growth. We tested 98% of eligible students in reading, language, math, and science. For Ames Web Plus, 95% of our kindergarten through third grade students have completed the assessment for letter, word, sounds fluency, oral reading fluency, and reading comprehension. All of these assessments provide meaningful diagnostic data to help drive our instruction for all students. I want to say thank you to our students. This gives us key information, and then to our staff who uses this information to give the best possible instruction to our students. Trailside Point Performing Arts Academy is working with Sounds Academy to offer an advanced choir class for 7th and 8th grade students. This elective is designed to develop a deep love of music and allow students to work with a professional musician on vocal performance. The curriculum is set up to teach essential skills like reading notes and the basics of playing an instrument. These lessons happen every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Currently, 20 enthusiastic students are participating in this choir program, and we look forward to the community performance at the end of the year. On August 23rd, the district's first early release professional development day. So this is our first ever classified staff development day in the history of the district. Classified staff members from across the district participated in various trainings. Instructional associates were trained in administering one of the assessments I just talked about, the Ames Web Plus, and used the progress monitoring instrument, while behavior monitors and student success associates received training on Synergy, our student information system. Health associates, pictured here, also participated in training with the district nurses covering various topics. Providing our classified employees with support and opportunities for advancement is part of our commitment to our employee experience. We will continue to offer professional development to our classified employees throughout the school year during our early release days.
Are we making children work now? There were children in the picture.
Oh, go back one.
Staff-
Oh, yes. Apparently we had some staff, future health associates back
Awesome.
there. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, next one, Butch. MC Cash School is the recipient of a new school garden thanks to the Sprouts Healthy Communities Foundation 24 Gardens in 24 Hours in 24 Communities campaign. The foundation will provide for the construction of the garden $5,000 to support nutrition education lessons, ongoing professional development, and personnel to support the Learning Garden program. The new garden is expected to be installed on Saturday, September 23rd. MC Cash is the only school in Arizona selected for this award. Congratulations. The Sprouts Healthy Communities Foundation received over 3,000 community garden nominations. Estrella Foothills Global Academy will be launching a LEGO robotics program thanks to a grant from Arizona State University. ASU's Fulton School of Engineering is providing EFGA with first LEGO League Masterpiece Challenge sets, which include a themed robot game mat, exclusive sets of LEGO elements to build mission models, robot game rulebooks, student workbooks, curriculum, and other digital materials. Additionally, the Fulton School is covering the EFGA robotics team's registration fees for this upcoming season. Congratulations. The family of Lisa Sandomir, MC Cash's late principal, has made a donation in the amount of $150,000 to the Levine Education Foundation in her memory. This generous gift will be used to create the Lisa Sandomir Memorial Scholarship, which will support 8th grade promotees of MC Cash School when they are ready to attend college or trade schools after they have graduated from high school. Her brother, Dr. Alan Sandomir, said, "We have heard from so many people about Lisa's impact in their lives, and our family is thrilled to continue her legacy by funding these scholarships." The Levine Education Foundation will begin accepting applications from MC Cash alumni for this scholarship in January of 24 for our first class of students in the 24-25 school year. I think that one deserves a round of applause. And now our Employees of the Month. We will start with our Certified Employee of the Month, Angel McSwain, School Counselor from Desert Meadows. Let me read this, and then we'll give her a huge round of applause as she comes up. Angel is in her fourth year of serving as school counselor at Desert Meadows, and in this time, she has gone above and beyond for our students. Last school year, she spent countless of hours organizing a hugely successful career day where students were able to meet with dozens of employers and colleges. She also formed a girls' club to provide lessons in etiquette. In her day-to-day routine, Angel is known for always having a smile on her face and displaying a positive and contagious attitude even during the craziest of situations. We thank you, Angel, for the positive impact you make on our students each and every day. Angel, would you please come forward? Let's give her a round. Governing Board, we have done a lot of celebration of our students, and we have another group of students here that has been waiting. They loved Charlie, the override, bonds, and capital plan. I was watching everyone over here. Everybody was paying attention. But now is the moment for Rogers Ranch STEM Academy to be doing their classroom spotlight. And what I've asked them to do tonight, as the Governing Board just renamed our school, their school, to Rogers Ranch STEM Academy, is to share with you a little bit about their journey to develop a outstanding STEM program at their school. And so with that, I will turn it over to Principal Megan Hamburg.
Well, good evening, President Berrigan, Governing Board members, Dr. Sprout, and all the guests behind me. At the July Governing Board meeting, as Dr. Sprout had stated, you all voted in favor of renaming of Rogers Ranch to Rogers Ranch STEM Academy. This, of course, has been a journey over the last 3 years. There's so many different avenues within STEM, and we wanted to ensure that what we became really reflected what we represent at Rogers Ranch. So this evening, I would like to take you on a journey for you to experience firsthand the renaming of Rogers Ranch STEM Academy. And before that, I'm gonna put on a little video, test my technology skills here. We prepare our students to excel in STEM fields of study and succeed in 21st century careers as leaders and innovators.
I want to be a video game programmer when I grow up. When I grow up, I want to be a mechanical engineer. When I grow up, I want to be a police officer. I want to be a vet or a pet rescuer, or even both.
I want to do computer science and game development.
I want to make apps that can help you with your personal needs.
Our program is designed to engage students in these subjects in a meaningful way, helping them develop the critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical skills that are essential for success in STEM-related fields. We work really hard to ensure that our students are provided with hands-on learning opportunities and experiences.
In my science class, we learned about algae and how it was increasing, growing very at a fast pace.
My favorite science lesson was our problems in the kelp forest lesson. We got to learn about how an ecosystem works.
I learned the parts of an air conditioner, how they work, and the problems that are common in an air conditioner and how to fix them. It helps you develop abilities in the future that would help you with problem solving. We made this nest, all of us in our classroom. It was so fun about grabbing all of our teams and putting our teams together when we don't get.
We're talking hands-on learning, hands-on projects, true investigations where they're digging in and having opportunities to learn, take, and apply. We asked our community what they would like to see in a STEM school, and one of the things that was at the top of everyone's list was having a Lego robotics program. Ms. Silva really took that over and has done an exceptional job.
By the end of the program, students are going to build confidence in themselves and also to build a better tomorrow by becoming innovators and great builders.
Another thing that has been incredibly awesome to watch grow and develop over the course of the last couple years is with our coding program that we have here at Rogers Ranch that Ms. Snow has done an exceptional job taking over. So we partner with a company called Skillstruck, and they've been able to provide us with coding opportunities that I've never seen happen anywhere else.
We were learning how to make a calculator with coding. And it turns out you have to look at the tiniest details when it comes to coding.
Our goal at Rogers Ranch is to prepare students for jobs of the future, many of which don't exist yet. We are partnered with different people within our community, specifically Vulcan Materials, and they have provided volunteers to come into the classroom and talk to students about their experiences in their careers to inspire our students to become future problem solvers in their community.
I built a model, a bowl with eroded soil and a bowl with fresh soil. It helps me solve problems just like the soil erosion and what causes it in the living farms.
I'm working on my science fair. It's a VR headset, homemade, with Makey and Scratch.
Our STEM program is a vital part of who we are at Rogers Ranch, and we want to ensure that we're providing opportunities for our students to engage in quality educational STEM-related fields of experience to set them up for success moving forward.
It feels fun being here in Rogers Ranch.
I just feel like I got to live my childhood dreams.
You might not know the dream you want to accomplish now, but throughout your life, you will figure it out.
We prepare. We don't need to watch it again. Okay. I'm going to monitor and adjust because you don't want to hear me talk. You want to hear these awesome kids get up here. But this is just a list of some things that we're going to continue to be doing as we continue to enhance our STEM program at Rogers Ranch. This evening, you're going to see featured an incredible group of individuals. They represent 2nd through 8th grade students at Rogers Ranch. They are under the leadership of the awesome Miss Michelle Silva, who teaches 1st grade at Rogers Ranch. As you saw featured in the video, our community asked and we responded that Lego Robotics was something that they would like to see within their STEM school. So this year, our goal is to begin the competition phase of everything. We're going to be partnering with Bioscience, and we have students from Bioscience coming in and doing robotics with us on specific days. So on that note, I am proud to introduce you to Michelle Silva.
Good evening, President Bergen, governing board members, Dr. Sprout, and guests. First and foremost, thank you for this great opportunity to spotlight our LEGO Robotics program. Our school has encountered a great amount of success. We have received a lot of positive feedback from our staff and from our community. Thank you, Dr. Sprout, for being an inspiration and a great support and an encouragement in building a stronger STEM program. So what is LEGO Robotics? So LEGO Robotics is focused on the fundamentals of engineering. Students explore real-world problems. They learn how to design, code, and create unique solutions for our community using Legos. Our main goal is to help our students build a better tomorrow. At Rogers Ranch STEM Academy, we have 3 divisions, beginning with K2, called Discover, 3/5, Explore, and 6/8 Challenge. Our Discover division, K2, is a playful introduction to our STEM program using Lego Duplo bricks. Our Explore division, 3/5, students explore real-world scientific concepts by building a model and coding them to make them move using a Lego education technology. Our Challenge division, 6/8, is a friendly competition where students research, problem solve, and engineer. Each division is broken down into teams. Each team journeys begins with an introduction with the season's challenge. So each team has different roles. We have material managers, reporters, builders, Lego element finders, team captains, facilitators, and quarters. So the team journey begins with exploring the challenge. From there, they go into learning about our 6 essential core values. These core values are very, very important and crucial to show the students as they encourage them to create positive and working environments within each of them. Next, students explore, create, and test their models. The program closes out with a big celebration event. This is where our students, staff, and community come together to an exhibition to exhibit all of our K-8 Lego models. This past year's challenge, students had the opportunity to learn about how energy works and how we use it. Today, our students will showcase a few models that they have built and tested. With me, I have 17 students from our 3 divisions. First, I present you with our Discover division, K2, Malachi Shea, Shania Shea, Damick Brown, Manuel Montoya, Lillian Valsborg, Next, I present you with our Explorer Division, 3 fifth grade students. Martin Vega, Michael Ainsa, Juliana Ainsa, Eric Garcia, Armin Akili, Martin Vega, Ace Carrillo, Jacqueline Maddox, Pocket Durant, Declan Callahan, Abraham Diaz. Lastly, I present you with our Challenge Division, 6th through 8th graders, Christopher Garcia and Silas Loring. They will now come to you and present.
So I made the windmill. This I don't have a piece to connect, so that's sad. It's supposed to go in there.
No, you're good.
Okay. I don't know if this will explode. Explode. Should I lower this? Maybe a little bit. Want to make a race? I'm a fifth grade student from March Ranch.
All right.
Yeah. Alright, so this by this. No, that's the no, this thing. So we built Carnival ride. No, yeah, Carnival ride. Now this one, it works off of this, which is a yellow box, which is a device that powers up this, which rotates and makes a leap. Here. Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah, it's called the yellow box.
Very cool.
And with the right amount of material, you can make this rotator move everything on this. For that.
Connected to that. No? Wow. That is very impressive.
Now we didn't have the right materials, so we had to do this.
That's pretty fast. So it slows down.
Slow down at the end. Yeah, we had to make this one that was different. We had to use the big one instead of the size ones.
Okay.
And on this one, we had to kind of
Wow. Good. Now you're thinking about how to make it work.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. Nice job.
Yeah. Also, Lego Robotics that introduces us to it basically just expands your knowledge and also help my team collaboration because I didn't know what I was working with fifth grade students last year and some other people.
Nice. Awesome job, guys. Oh, yeah? Are you guys better this year? It's pretty cool though, huh? That's a lot of Oh, wow. Yeah, on Amazon. Yeah. Is that the fastest? Yes. Yeah. Not that did work. Oh, there you were. That's really cool. Yeah. That's awesome. got anything with that? Yeah, you stitched it. Okay. Did you create other things? Very cool. Fun. Our future inventors, right? Nice job. Those are pretty fun. That's
Very cool, girls. Great job. Yeah. I don't either.
allowing you guys to use
All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask my Rogers Ranch students to go ahead and come back to their seats. I'm sure they could talk forever. Thank you so much. All right, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to present and allowing our students to showcase what we're doing at Rogers Ranch STEM Academy. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hamburg.
Ms. Silva and students, if you would please come up here. We're just going to get a quick picture with you. And once again, parents, if you'd like to get a picture, you don't have to bring your stuff with you, but come on up. Got a big group.
a lot of kids, a lot of kids. A lot of kids. I think that's my favorite search question. Yeah. I was like, where's the lamp?
Okay.
Once again, let's give a round of applause to our students. And parents, thank you for being here, for being engaged in your children's learning. And boy, you just want to see where all these kids are going to be in 10 to 15 years, and it's going to be incredible. So thank you, students, and again, staff and parents. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Sprout, and thank you, parents and students, for being here tonight. I cannot tell you how impressed I am. It just seems like every board meeting I come to and see our students and the incredible things that we're doing here in Laveen, I could not be more proud. Thank you, parents, for sharing your beautiful and brilliant children with us this evening. They are our future, and our future is bright. So thank you. We're going to move to the business portion of our meeting. You're welcome to stay for that, but we're going to break briefly in case you want to go celebrate and have dinner instead. Thanks to the rest of you for staying. Do you have a choice? No. Okay, we will move on to the presentation and discussion of the 10-year infrastructure plan. And he's back.
I heard the thunderous applause at the end of the bond and override presentation. It was clear that there was an encore demanded. And
You're back.
good evening again, Superintendent Sprout, President Berrigan, and members of the governing board. I'll be presenting on the 10-year infrastructure plan tonight. This is a continuation of a series of presentations on future capital plans over the last year or so. And also there's some information in here that goes into greater detail than what we talked about earlier in the bond override and capital plan public hearing. A few of the slides duplicate that information, and I promise I will do the Cliff Notes version of those slides and move through quickly. So first, we understand that the district is growing, and that's where most of our capital needs are coming from. We know that with the 2,300 additional students that we expect to have over the next 10 years, we'll need new schools to renovate existing schools and expand other capacity, and also a rough idea of what that would cost using the best estimates that we can looking out into the future right now. I mentioned that there have been a few presentations over the last year about the district's capital needs. Looking back to January, there was a presentation on a vision for reimagining schools and some information there that might be incorporated into our ultimate plans for updating and renovating existing schools. In April, there was a demographics presentation and understanding all of the growth that's going on in the district that really underlies our need for 2 new schools and our capital plans in the future. In May, we reviewed the district's 5-year capital plan and specific projects that'll be funded this year and in the near future. And then in June, we revisited exterior building standards and the Reimagining Schools concept with a bit more information about what might fit into that bucket of updates and renovations in the future. And I mentioned we'll have more information on that in the future months. Today, I'll be presenting on the 10-year infrastructure plan. Where this fits in our bucket of overall capital needs is really the roughly $9.5 million that we expect to need for the Levine Education Center campus here. And again, this is a part of the overall $100 to $120 million of needs that we expect over the next 10 years with the growth in the district. This recommendations in this presentation, I mentioned back when I presented on the budget in July that I had to give credit to our previous CFO, Kevin Hegarty, and Mr. Hegarty coordinated the group of district leaders that put their heads together to think through what we might need for infrastructure in the future. And the information that you see in this presentation is the result of that process and those district leaders thinking through what does it mean to serve 2,300 more students. So when we talk about additional needs here at the LEC campus and what fits into that bucket, we'll need some site modifications in order to enable expansion and adding buildings here on the site itself. A lot of our needs stem from transportation. When you're transporting more students, there'll be more buses, more staff transporting students. We'll also be feeding more students, and our child nutrition department will need a bit more space. And then on the support services side, there's a few things that our team there will need in order to serve a growing population as well. Talking in a little bit more detail about the infrastructure needs that came out of this work, here at the LEC campus, in order to prepare the site for building and expansion, we need to do things like redirect water retention so that we'd be able to put additional buildings where we'd like to and not where water currently drains to. So there'd be some site work to send water elsewhere on the property. We need to modify the entry and parking to the site, make it a little bit safer for a larger number of cars to come in, not such an abrupt turn entering the parking lot and to accommodate additional cars. And then we'll need to move utilities around the site. So if we're planning to put additional buildings, there'll need to be electricity to serve those buildings. And part of our infrastructure plan has to do with the electric buses that we'll be getting through a grant and being able to provide chargers and infrastructure for those. Looking a little bit more specifically about what our needs are on the transportation side, first with more buses and more staff, we're at the point now where our transportation department is using just about every square foot of their existing building. I was over there for a meeting a few weeks ago, and there was not an empty seat. It was filled to capacity. So with additional buses and additional staff, we'll need a new transportation building with a larger training and break room. The bus fleet will be increasing, and so we'll need increased parking for that bus fleet. I mentioned part of this will be preparing for electric vehicles and making sure that we have electricity around the property to power those chargers. And we were fortunate that the recent grant that we received for electric buses included a few $100,000 for running electricity to where we need it. And so that part of our need will be funded by a grant and not come out of other district capital resources. Transportation Department has some other needs for increased camera security and GPS and other technology to keep the buses safe. By building a new transportation building, that leaves us with an existing building that would no longer be occupied. We believe that that'll be best suited to meet the needs of our child nutrition department. Serving additional students, there'll be more space needed there, and that building has enough room that things like a walk-in refrigerator, walk-in freezer, and space to store dry goods would be available. Those are things that would allow the child nutrition team to benefit from bulk ordering discounts and operate in a more efficient way in the way that they want to run their program. Another benefit of converting the transportation building for child nutrition use is that it'll free up some office space here in the district office and allow for just the general growth of the team here as the district grows. On the support services side, our team will need a little bit more space for a secure white fleet storage area to make sure that district vehicles are parked in a secure way. and also expanded restroom facilities. The building accommodates the team right now, but unfortunately it's a very large number of people and a very small restroom, and so that's something we'd like to address with updating the infrastructure here. This next slide gives you a quick look at what the improvements here at the LEC and the 10-year infrastructure plan would entail. I mentioned the first step would be to prepare the site to be able to accommodate additional building. So that'd be taking water retention from the middle of property and moving it over to the back corner. That would allow us to go ahead and build a new transportation building. And this kind of primitive graphic isn't necessarily exactly where the building would go. We'll consult with architects and engineers to figure out where that makes the most sense. But somewhere within that open space is where the new transportation building would go. Once that's constructed, we'd be able to renovate the existing transportation building for use by our child nutrition department, and then wrap up with modifications to the support services building and work on the entrance into the LEC parking lot. You'll see with the arrow there, we would lose a little bit of parking space by straightening out the entrance into the parking lot, but we'd be able to gain that back by adding a few spaces right alongside the east side of the building. Zooming back out to a high level, what we just talked through in the 10-year infrastructure plan and needs here at the Levine Education Center fit into that $9.5 million bucket for support services for our long-term needs. And that is combined with the other needs that we talked about, mostly the $79 million for new schools, $15 to $30 million for renovations. This fits into that 9.5 bucket. We talked a little bit about the funding for these projects earlier, but the most important thing to remember is we hope to, on the school side, be getting the majority of things funded by the state with new school construction funding, and we'll be looking to other resources for some of our infrastructure needs, capital reserves, potentially $10 to $15 million, and then other sources that will help us with these projects. So the child nutrition budget will be able to pay for things like equipment and renovations to use the old transportation building, and we'll continue to pursue grants like the one we received for electric buses for help with utilities and other things where we can. This next slide is just a look at when some of these projects might take place, starting with things that could begin as soon as the tail end of this year, beginning with elementary school number 10 and preparing site modifications here, and looking all the way out to August of 2028 when we'd expect elementary school number 11 to start to become a reality. All of this fits into our big picture to make sure that we're managing growth over the next 10 years and doing so in a way that makes sure the district will continue to have high-quality schools for all of our students and all of the necessary support infrastructure to ensure that students and staff are able to work to the highest level. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the 10-year infrastructure plan.
Any questions or comments? Go for it.
One thing I didn't see it, maybe I missed it, our need for teachers in the next 10 years. Are we going to have a plan to assess that and maybe have, like for instance, we're giving these scholarships to our 8th graders, maybe have an incentive for them 8 years from now to become teachers in our district. So just maybe we should have a small budget to look at, having the teachers we're going to need in the next. So I know it's not getting easier to get quality teachers.
Definitely, and that I think every year, beginning in December or so, between Tim and Human Resources and the finance team, we'll be looking at the expected growth for the next year, how many teachers will need to meet that growth, and not within the 10-year infrastructure plan, but we could start to think through, we're expecting 2,300 more students. What would it look like to have a long-term plan for the number of teachers that scale up and anything that we can do to prepare for that?
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you for the time to present that very clearly. I know Mr. Haggerty put together a lot of the information. It's always a little more exciting to people when we're putting a school out there, but this infrastructure piece is critically important, and it allows the schools to do schools so that our support organization pieces can make sure that they're supporting schools in that way. So not as exciting as a new school, but still very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a would guess Mr. Thomas presenting and discussing the 22-23 educator effectiveness labels.
I always have to be the one to start it.
They used to be your friends.
Stuart.
He gets all the clapping started, and then once
it's
he goes
my
up,
turn.
nobody,
See that?
Yeah.
See how that works. Good evening, President Berrigan, Dr. Sprout, and members of the governing board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity this evening to present some information to you on our educator effectiveness performance pay and our 22-23 staff survey results. Throughout the presentation tonight and throughout the topics, you're going to see our employee commitments interweaved or considered in all of the topics. And just to review for you, our employee commitments when you work for the Levine School District is that we commit that we give you a place to make an impact, that we provide you with the support you need to do your job at the highest level, that you have opportunities for advancement, competitive salary and benefits, and that we are going to celebrate you. So 22-23 educator effectiveness performance pay. So this is a mandate by statute that every year I give you a presentation on the aggregate breakdown of effectiveness labels. So this is for the 22-23 school year last year. Always our goal for an educator effectiveness or a performance pay plan, it is a statutorily mandated plan. This isn't a Levine thing that we came up with or that we said that we wanted to do, but it's in statute. And knowing that it's in statute, we came up with the 4 goals of ensuring that we come up with a plan that recognizes teachers' performance, that the funds are distributed in a balanced manner, that it boosts morale and encourages improvement, and is clear and easy to understand. So last year, the maximum allocation for educator effectiveness performance pay was $2,000, and just as a reminder, that fund can change year to year as it's based on sales tax revenue received by the state. And I also noted on that slide, just a reminder that the employees that are eligible for leadership performance pay, or excuse me, educator effectiveness performance pay, are employees on our certified salary schedule, which are our teachers, our instructional coaches, and our counselors. The effectiveness label is made up of a combination of a teacher's formal observation and student achievement data. So 80% of the performance pay, which comes from their educator effectiveness label, is made up of their evaluation or formal observation, 55% of which is based off their total points, 25% based off the amount of elements that they are proficient in. On the old observation instrument, it was a 3 or higher. And then we are mandated to incorporate student achievement data into a teacher's effectiveness label. And we use 20%. State statute says you have to use 20 to 33%. We've traditionally, through the years, have used the 20% so that the teachers have more control during their formal observation on their label. So there's 4 categories or 4 labels that an educator or teacher could reside in. The first one is highly effective of our 500-point scale. 80% of that, or 400 points of it, is based off their formal observations. If a teacher is labeled highly effective, they get the 100% allocation or the $2,000. Ineffective teachers are not eligible for performance pay, as well as teachers that are developing and have been in the profession for more than 3 years. Teachers that are effective, their breakdown of allocation you can see on this chart there. So a teacher on with their formal observation, their student achievement data, if they had 380 points, you can see that translates to 90% of the $2,000. Here is the breakdown of the aggregate scores. You can see that 37% of our teachers were labeled highly effective, while 55% were effective, 7% developing, and 1% ineffective. Here's a 5-year graph of that. We like to see consistent numbers. We don't want to see big peaks and valleys, just so that we're using it for inter-rater reliability and making sure we have a reliable system. Performance paychecks were distributed on August 4th. That's the week that all teachers returned back to school. The average, I told you the maximum amount was $2,000. The average performance paycheck was $1,625 for a total payout of $708,530. So that was last year's performance pay plan. At our last governing board meeting, we approved the 23-24 performance pay plan, which looks quite different than our traditional plans in the past. So again, keeping in mind that we have this statutorily mandated plan that we have to incorporate, we want to, again, be reflective and make sure that our plan recognizes teachers' performance, distribute funds in a balanced manner, boost morale, and is clear and easy to understand. So we made some revisions to that. While our teachers are still required to have an educator effectiveness label, performance pay is no longer tied to that label. So that $2,000 you can see is for the upcoming year is going to be distributed in a different format. We've changed educator effectiveness performance pay to annual evaluation performance pay and educator goal plan performance pay. So $1,000 will be based on the completion of the required formal observation process, and then another $1,000 will be based on an educator goal plan, a completion, where a teacher develops a goal plan with some goals and action steps with their administrator. It's monitored over the course of the school year, and then it's signed at the end. One thing that has not changed is the leadership performance pay. So we continue to offer $1,800 in leadership performance pay. That's $30 an hour at a maximum of 60 hours for things that are done outside of the school day. That is paid out during the year as it is completed. So with that portion of the presentation, I will stop there and pause for some questions on either the last year's educator effectiveness performance pay plan or the 23-24 performance pay plan.
Any questions or comments?
I just have one clarification.
Sure.
So I know in the previous year you had at least 20% tied to achievement data, and that's not the case this year.
That is still the case this year
It
for
is
their
still
label. So
okay.
80% of their label will come from their formal observation and 20% from the NWE median conditional growth from pre to post. They will have that label, but it will not affect the $2,000. So we have to report those labels
Sure.
to the state of Arizona, as you're
Okay.
aware, Ms. Anderson. But yes, so they will still have a label, but if they're effective, they'll get the $2,000 as long as they've met the requirements. And so we're not doing formal observations for performance pay.
Got it.
Yes, I appreciate the question.
I would just say there are lots of districts that have very complicated performance pay plans. And that fourth bullet about it being easy and clear for the people who are participating in it to be able to understand, I think is critically important. When they don't understand what it is they need to achieve or how they can get there, and it's so complicated, then it's ineffective. And then there are some districts who just sort of automatically give those funds to their teachers, and that on the other side of the scale isn't probably the right way to be doing things either. I really appreciate even our former plan, but that moving forward with the new plan, that it's very clear and easy to understand for our staff. So great.
I
with
appreciate
you.
that. And I'd like to add, so as on the governing board agenda last month, the plan was unanimously decided by a performance pay committee, but prior to that, it was presented to all district staff when we returned from summer break, and the feedback was very positive. I met with all of our school administrators who met with all of their staff, addressed questions and concerns, and there weren't any. And then I'd also like to thank the governing board and highlight, not only do we start our starting teachers at a $55,000, but you can see an additional $3,800 there by being in the profession and completing those responsibilities. It does make us competitive and helps exactly what Dr. Watkins talked about of keeping in mind recruiting teachers and retaining them. So.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that we're tying the money to an educator goal plan, so we're incentivizing that work to be better and, rewarding them for that work to improve and continuously improve, and not necessarily the year-to-year variables with their students that they might not be able to control. So grateful for the teachers for putting all that work, and I know they would do the work to improve either way, but
Sure.
I'm glad we can reward them for that.
Yeah, and that was the goal in the conversation around that. So.
Very good.
So thank you. We will move on to the 22-23 staff survey. I'm excited to share these results for you, and once again, I'll take any questions you might have. So last spring, it was the first time in the tenure of Dr. Sprout, either being in HR or superintendency, as well as myself, that we've given a staff survey. And we were, you know, when you give a survey, sometimes it's a little nervous on what you think the results are going to be, but, you know, we have a great district here, so we were excited to see the results. We know we'd have some highlights, but also areas to improve, and that's what I'll share with you this evening. So going back to our employee commitments, a lot of the questions focused around to see how we're doing in that area, right? So the first one, the Levine School District is a great place to work. And when you have over 90% of your staff responding that they agree or strongly agree with that, we're doing things well, and we'll continue to reflect and ensure that we do things well. I have a safe workplace. We spent a lot of time over the last few years ensuring, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't give Kristen Landry a shout out and our school teams to ensure that our schools and our campuses and our students are safe. And when you, again, ask our staff, almost 90% say that they have a safe workplace. School or department has a positive climate culture. You can see that's always our goal, is part of our employee experience is to celebrate and make people feel valued and appreciated. And you can see the breakdown of the responses there. I receive the level of support I need to do my job successfully. So that was one of the commitments that I shared with you. If you work for the Levine School District, that you will have the level of support you need to do your job at a high level, and the response does reflect that. There is open and transparent communication from the district. So again, if I'm mainly looking to quickly add up the green and the blue, the agree and strongly agree, you can see a higher response that favor those categories. My job allows me the opportunity to make a positive impact in the lives of students and colleagues. Employee commitment number one. You work for the Levine School District. If you are a crossing guard, if you are a bus driver or a cafeteria worker, you will have an opportunity to make the impact in the lives of kids and the lives of each other. And you can see by, again, over a 90% rate of agree or strongly agree with that question. My school department recognizes and celebrates staff accomplishments. So over 80% of the respondents agreed or strongly agreed with that question. Again, another core commitment that we're going to provide you with training and allow you to grow, whether it's being better in your own craft or advancing to another position. And once again, you can see over 80% agreed and strongly agreed with that question. High quality professional development opportunities. The graph is a little bit more scattered. We're still trying to figure out that neutral of those 22.9 or 23% shows neutral there. So we continue to reflect and dig into the data on that. And once again, I'll answer I can stop at any time, or I can flip back through the slides and answer any questions you have if there's a particular question, survey question, or result we want to look at. My school effectively handles student discipline problems. So again, looking at a more scattered pie chart here. Key here that I was looking at, when you look at the strongly disagree and the disagree, about the 23-24%, it's almost the exact same amount as a strongly agree. So just wondering, we did some data dive looking at the correlation there and why that might be. Opportunities for parents to be involved. So high responsive agree and strongly agree that we are engaging our parents, and we'll continue to look for ways to do that. And then we kind of shift to some support services and Charlie's world. The district facilities are well maintained. So 90%, we want safe, look good, feel good, safe campuses for our staff and students. The district is financially responsible. So I'm glad that our staff agree that we are fiscally responsible or financially responsible. The district salary schedules are competitive with other Phoenix Area School District. So we're constantly monitoring the industry norms and what's going on with not only our surrounding districts and metropolitan Phoenix, but on the outskirts and the suburbs as well. And we want to be the best of the best. And you know, I'm glad that 85% of our staff agree or strongly agree with that. And then Charlie talked tonight about 10-year infrastructure. Dr. Sprout gave a demographic study. We know what's coming, and we don't want to be playing catch up or be reactive. So we're going to constantly be visionary and be proactive so that we're not ever put in a vulnerable or unfiscally sound situation. And you can see there that our staff are confident that we do have a plan for the future, with almost 90% of our staff, you know, knowing what our vision is for the future. Just some quick takeaways. You know, that again, I mentioned at the beginning, this is really the first time that we've done a survey like this in the 10 years that I've been in the district. And so it is a good baseline for the future. We'll continue to do this survey, and that's the only way we're going to know if we're growing, if we look at, you know, some of those neutral responses or disagree and see if we're moving them. Overall, when we looked at the responses, it was pretty positive for those questions. I felt we were transparent and put ourselves out there. And then, of course, it did identify some areas for improvement. So that completes, pending any questions from the governing board, that concludes my presentation.
I look at surveys the same way I look at audits, a little painful, but necessary. And they tell us what we're doing well, and they tell us where we have maybe some areas for improvement. And if we didn't have any areas for improvement, we know that that would not have been a legitimate survey. So that is absolutely expected to see that. I have no doubt that our team will focus on those areas. But something I was very proud to see, that last one, that not only do we have a plan and a vision for the future, but that's been articulated to all staff, that it's above a 90% positivity rate there. So, you know, sometimes we forget that communication piece and bringing everybody along with us for the ride. So I really appreciate that was, has been clearly communicated with staff. Any other questions or comments from board members?
I appreciate taking the time and effort to do this survey and make sure we get feedback, especially as our staff grows, making sure that we are hearing from everyone. There are two areas that seem to be the biggest areas of growth for the professional development and the support for behavior. So I know you've kind of filled me in a little bit, but can you share maybe what's been identified or what type of action plans we have addressing those areas of growth?
Sure, yeah, thank you, Ms. Abeg. So you mentioned the professional development. So we have an early release day 15 times a year, and you know, students leave school, and we want our staff to find that time meaningful or valuable. So when we look at this data and we have almost a quarter of our staff is unsure about that or is neutral about it, it's our job, how do we make them or make that time valuable to them? So we have made some changes to our professional development this year. I know just my own experience being a school leader and hearing from our staff, it's making sure that the professional development is meaningful. In order to do that in K-8 schools, differentiating the professional development, right? A kindergarten teacher who's sitting through an 8th grade teacher's, or an 8th grade science teacher who's sitting through, Spalding training may not find it relevant. So really differentiating that professional development using our instructional coaches, our assistant principals, and district staff to just making sure we're doing that. There are times where you have to bring the whole staff together for initiatives or professional development, but just making sure that we're focused on meaningful for the grade level or the content area. The other big shift this school year is with our PLC process and speaking with our school leaders, professional learning communities. So the stronger our professional learning communities are, is just going to translate to better instruction and positive student achievement outcomes. So traditionally, professional learning communities took place during a teacher's prep time, 45 minutes. And so this year we've dedicated some of the early release time to PLCs. And in a PLC, there's 4 questions that a teacher would ask themselves. What do we want the students to learn? How do we know if they learned it? What are we going to do if they don't? And how are we going to enrichment if they did? So it's looking at standards, looking at teaching and learning, looking at data, and moving that process forward. So using professional development time, some teachers say, well, we need more time for planning. It's planning with the standards and the data, so we're looking forward to that this year, as well as the feedback from our site administrators that's going to be a shift, and we think our teachers are going to be appreciative of that, and then we think it's going to translate into higher quality instruction and student achievement. So that kind of is what we're looking forward to in the professional development. And then Ms. Abeg, you also mentioned the student discipline. So we've looked at our PBIS data. We also looked at a correlation between our schools with some of the lowest satisfactory responses on this and the out-of-school suspension rate. And I'll tell you, there's not a correlation, meaning that the schools that are suspending kids more, the staff aren't more satisfied with how discipline is being handled. You know what? We have some challenging students and some students with needs. And do we suspend kids? Yeah, we suspend kids, but we'll continue to look at what our kids need and what our teachers need in order to support both of them. We have a great PBIS program. I'll also let you know that the campuses, some of them with a higher fidelity, saw a higher agree or strongly agree. So some of those campuses that can improve the PBIS fidelity, that's what we're implementing. We're implementing the PBIS with more fidelity. We think will also, when we survey again, help change some of those results.
One more question.
Yeah.
Was there a comment section on the survey by chance, or was it just straight data?
There was a comments
Okay.
section, and all of the departments, so this was given out by school, kids club, child nutrition, transportation, and they were able to leave a comment, and all the comments were given to the supervisor or the site principal or admin team, unedited, and you can imagine some of the comments.
I would encourage us not to read the comments as board members. I've seen what they look like sometimes.
Well, many of them were, the majority are very, very positive,
Correct.
but it
But
does
for the-
offer opportunity to take a shot and some.
For the difficulties and challenges, I just want to know what they saw, what we can address. Not just, when you look at data, you can data, but if someone says, I'm having a problem with this demographic, that really helps us. So,
Yeah, Dr. Watkins, I appreciate it, and it focused around this question here on student discipline and what can we do, to minimize some of the disruption.
Do we do a parent survey by chance?
We do a parent survey. We do a Title I survey that academic services and oversees, and so it asks about parent involvement and what things your child participates in, extracurricular activities. But if you have something specific that you're wondering if we ask our parents, we can answer that.
I just want to know that we're taking that measurement into account.
Yeah.
And if the board would like, we could share the results of that at a future meeting.
I think that was those at the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
I think I remember getting those at the end of the school year.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thomas.
No, thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Sprout.
I wanted to go back, thank you,
Yeah, do you want me to
Tim.
go back to a slide or?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I wanted to go back to something that Dr. Watkins said earlier with Charlie regarding basically growing your own teachers. And I appreciate that question very much. One of the things that we've tried to do is grow our own. We've had classified staff members become teachers in our district. But yeah, you're right. When you're in 8th grade, you're 8 years. Now to them, it seems like a lifetime. But that's a fast 8 years before you could become a teacher. And so we'll look at, what are some creative, innovative ways, even with our Levine Education Foundation scholarships that we offer to maybe emphasize students that want to enter public service in some way, particularly education. And so I appreciate that suggestion. And I always like to give credit to these folks in the back. They work very, very hard running their own mini HR departments and keeping us staffed. But we also want to help them to be innovative. And so thank you. And it's down on that. We're going to work on that idea. It's really good.
I think they could be like student teachers, like 6.5 years after 8th grade, right? Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
bump that timeline up.
Well, I was just meeting with the principal, Ms. Goodwin, today, and I'm sorry, where were they doing early teacher training at what's? You still can't remember. Nikki Goodwin, MC Cash principal. But we do have even a high school that's already starting to do that, to get to your point, that Ms. Goodwin will tell me later tonight. She'll text it to me. And I'll get the board the information.
Letting students know too about the community colleges that now have education bachelors.
Okay, very good. We are moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the modification to the leading observation instrument for school administrators. Do you have anything to share on that, Dr. Sprout?
Yes, we met with our, thank you, President Berrigan. We met with our admin team, and in a similar manner to how we revised our learning observation instrument, we modified the leading observation instrument for our principals and our assistant principals, and moved away from a number scoring system. It is now more goal-based in allowing our school leaders to customize what they're doing on their campuses. And again, it was very unanimously received by our school administrators, and we're looking forward to implementing this new model in the future.
Okay.
Actually, this year.
All right, very good. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Next, the educator effectiveness plan for school administrators.
Based on the change and not using a scoring system anymore. And by the way, I forgot to mention that we moved away from a number-based scoring system to to basically goal met, addressing how far they were in meeting their goals. We obviously needed to change the educator effectiveness plan. Once again, it mirrors the same process that our teachers did, and I would say, I'm confident 100% of our school administrators support it.
Excellent. Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. All those in favor? Oh, excuse me, any discussion? All those in, yes?
One
Yeah, go.
question on that. The effective plan, the teachers required to come up with their own plan? Are they given help and assessment in making that? Say for example, I'm a teacher, but I'm not great at planning what my goal is. Are we helping them facilitate?
That is a one-on-one process with your school administrative team. And so not only will the teacher receive guidance and support in writing that, but we also have school leaders that are helping, kind of knowing what the teacher needs to move forward. So it's definitely a collaborative experience. And in the same way, in theory, I'm doing the same with our school, our principals, and then our principals are doing the same with their assistant principals.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Next, the bond sale resolution.
Do you really want any more information on bonds?
Yes. Charlie, is it a competitive bond or a straightforward bond sale? Okay. Okay, and what are we looking at for an approximate all-in interest cost?
That is a great question. I actually looked at policy in recent bond sale.
Okay.
And saw that they were in the mid 3% range.
Okay.
And I know they're a little bit better rated than we are, but would imagine somewhere in the ballpark.
Okay, I could ask you 20 more questions, but I won't. All right. Anybody else have questions on bond resolution? Actually, let me take a motion first.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye. And then we have the Office for Civil Rights Resolution Agreement for Website Accessibility. Dr. Sprout?
Yeah, the district's website was the subject of an Office for Civil Rights complaint. This is the U.S. Department of Education due to some of our elements on our website being inaccessible to visually impaired individuals. So we have worked with the OCR, with our vendors, to develop a website that is compatible, fully accessible to our community. So what you are agreeing, or what you're approving is the resolution agreement between OCR and our school district.
All right, do I have a motion?
Motion?
Second. Motion and seconded, any discussion? I do know from experience it can be simple things like just posting a PDF even is non-compliant for something like that. So it can be a little tricky to navigate. So I know that districts often run into this.
Well, I was curious, at the law conference last week, they said there's someone in Michigan who sent in like 5,000 OCR complaints for websites all over the country, and I was wondering if that's where this came about, just someone unrelated to the district looking it up.
Kristen has
Director of Communications, Kristen Landry.
Thank you, President Berrigan, members of the board. Yes, this has actually been going on for some time. So the original complaint was filed in 2017. And so we do believe it is that situation that you are referring to. Shortly after that, the OCR dropped those complaints because it was, they didn't have the resources to follow up on them. And so that's why it was originally canceled, but then they came back. And also I should mention that our website is fairly old. So the template that it was built on was from 2015. And so now it's on a WordPress platform. So now with the upgrade of a WordPress platform, a lot of those elements are going to be built into that platform, so it'll be easy. There are still things that we'll have to do, like coding on pictures and PDFs. But really, most of the problems had to do with color contrast and how those colors appeared together on our website. So if it's the same Michigan case, I don't know, but I do know that was the original situation.
Sounds like between Rogers Ranch and Desert Meadows in a couple of years, we'll have enough kids who can
They'll
come
take
back.
care of
That'll
it.
be the next trying to get our students to come back, and they can be our website.
They'll have that.
They can code it all.
There you go, there you go.
Thank you, Mrs. Landry. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Comments from the board. Mrs. Abeg, please.
I don't have a lot of comments today, but I appreciate everyone's work and the good start to the school year. I'm looking forward to getting out to all the schools and seeing all the exciting things going on. So as everyone gets rolling with all of your events, I'd love to get an email when you have stuff going on at the school and come out and see what's going on, but appreciate everything that's going on all the campuses.
I don't have any comments today.
No comment.
Okay. I would just say my daughter, who many of you have met, started high school this year, and it is very different from K-8, and I would like her to come back to protect her again. She had just a wonderful experience here, and I want all of our children in the Levine area to have a wonderful experience. You know, sometimes there are forces, I think, that try to divide things within our community, and I believe we have a precious and special thing in Levine, a place of diversity and love and respect, and I think that our schools are the absolute center of that, so I appreciate everything that all of you and your staff do every day to continue on with that same tone and tenor of love and respect and diversity for this community. So please know that. And I think Dr. Sprout has something to say.
Thank you, President Berrigan. Dr. Watkins is heading out on a missions trip next week to, I can't remember which country. To Kenya. And go ahead, yeah.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it, please.
Hopefully I'm going to see 300 school-age kids that have been pre-screened for glasses.
Wow.
They get to choose their own frame. We're going to ship the glasses to them.
Wow.
And they get a one-day safari.
Oh, cool.
So the biggest issue is 17 hours of flight both ways.
Ooh.
I'm not looking forward to that, but I feel like I'm doing God's work. So.
You are doing God's work. That's amazing. Watch out for the lions.
Safe travels.
Okay, I have a very important question. Has anybody ever tried to hide this from him? It looks like there's a lot of important notes in here. I feel like Ms. Imbruski feels like that might be a challenge. Keep that close.
Yeah.
He's going to hide that now.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody. We will have another board meeting on October 4th. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody. When do you leave?